everyone. I just took a trip to Orlando, Florida, and I spent one day at Universal Studios. It was a blast, and I'm going to show you some footage that I took when I was in the park, but stay tuned to what happens after the footage because I'm going to come back and I'm going to reevaluate the strategies we used, and I have some big tips to provide if you're about to take a trip to Orlando, Florida and go to Universal Studios. Alright, Harry Potter land! We got Harry Potter right here. We're going to go get our wand. No, I'm just gonna let you get one. Wow.
What is your name?
Ellie. What's your name?
Ellie?
Ellie.
So we have been at Universal for about half a day. We've gotten in 6 rides using the Universal Pass, the fast pass that they have here at Universal, and I would say it sort of gets you, maybe cuts off half an hour of any wait time, but it's not really similar to what Disney has with their Genie Plus system. So it's worth having, but definitely still a lot of lines to wait in today. So we're in Seuss Landing, and there's probably 4 or 5 rides in here for little kids. Super cute. We're heading over to Hulk. Hey guys, I'm going to provide a little bit of an analysis about what we did right and what we did wrong on this trip. In case you are about to take a trip to Universal Studios, I think I have some tips and tricks up my sleeve now, and I'm going to be using them next time. So here they are. Number 1, we stayed off property when we went to Universal Studios. We were staying in a Hilton that was nearby. It was a pretty cheap resort. It was very, very nice, but it was not on property. And now what I know is that you have benefits and perks to staying on property versus off property. So we'll get into those in a moment. But I had to purchase the Universal Express Pass along with our one-day park tickets. And here's a table to show you what it cost us just for one day and 2 people to go to Universal Studios. So a one-day park hopper for a child cost $194. A one-day park hopper for an adult cost $199, almost 200 bucks. The Universal Express Pass. Now, this is Universal's version of a fast pass, or the equivalent to what they might have as like the Genie Plus of Disney at this point. So the Universal Express Pass, we also purchased on top of the one-day park hopper. The reason for this is we did not have a lot of time to do this park, do both parks, and we wanted to be able to do as many rides as possible, and the Universal Express Pass was supposed to help us, have a little bit of a shorter line for each of the rides that we were riding. Now, there are big differences between a Universal Express Pass, though, and Genie Plus, or the old Fast Pass system for Disney. When you make a reservation for Genie Plus at Disney, there's a time that you're going to come back, but you're going to go to an entirely different line, almost from start to finish, and you're going to skip most of that line to get right onto that ride. That is not the case for the Universal Express Pass. The Universal Express Pass essentially shaves off what I would estimate to be about 30 minutes of any wait time. And the problem is that Universal Studios and Islands of Adventure both have very long wait times. There were a lot of people there for a random Tuesday in the middle of October that we were there, and we had very, very long lines to wait in, even with this Universal Express Pass. So, for instance, take Velocicoaster into account. The Velocicoaster line was maybe an hour and a half to 2 hours long. We did get to use our Universal Express Pass, yay! You only pass about a third of the line before you integrate into the standby line for Universal. This is a problem. It's so expensive, and for you to not be able to just pass the whole line with this thing makes it not as worthwhile in my opinion. I was a little bit disappointed with it. But that said, there are other things you can do and other strategies you can have if you're staying on property at a premier or deluxe Universal Studios hotel. So let's go into that a little bit. These are tips and tricks. These are things I did not know ahead of time, but going back, I might want to do this instead. So if you stay at any of the Universal Studios hotels, deluxe, moderate, value, what have you, you're going to get an extra hour advantage in the park. And that is huge because there are some rides in there that are so popular that it doesn't even matter if you have the Universal Express Pass. You're going to be waiting for an hour or more for that one ride. The other thing is that if you stay at a deluxe hotel, there are 3 of them. They are the Loews Portofino Bay Hotel, the Hard Rock Hotel, and the Loews Royal Pacific Resort. Those 3 hotels are considered premier hotels, and not only do you get an hour extra in the park if you stay at those hotels, but you also get a Universal Express Unlimited Pass for free. That's even better than the pass I purchased. The one I purchased allows you to go on each ride one time using the pass. The unlimited version of that pass allows you to go on it as many times as you want. So it's probably worth it. So I started looking at, well, how much does it cost to stay at one of these hotels? Because to be honest, we were staying in a pretty cheap hotel. We were like in a 1-bedroom on a Hilton, and it was $175 a night. That's a pretty good deal in my opinion. Now I'm coming from California and I'm used to those prices, but for Orlando, that's a really good price in my opinion. So I started wondering to myself, well, how much does it cost to actually stay at one of these hotels? Maybe you still pay more than you would for those Universal Express passes. Let's see. So I looked to see how much would it cost to have the lowest, bare bones room, the one that's the cheapest room that they have at each of those hotels for these 3 premier hotels. The cost for a random weekday in November is about $450 to $550 was the range, which is not that bad. But if you have a whole family of people coming with you, so for instance, if I'm coming with my 3 children and my husband, we're going to need more than just a 1-bedroom with 2 queens. We're going to need like a 2-bedroom suite or more to accommodate all of us. So I started wondering to myself, well, how much does that cost? Well, it turns out there's a 2-bedroom I'm looking at right now. I'm in the middle of November that's available on weekdays, and it's only $1,000 a night at the Hard Rock Hotel. So if I'm bringing my family of 5 with me and we're going to stay at the Hard Rock Hotel, then I'm spending $1,000 a night, but the unlimited Universal Express Pass was going to cost $200 a person anyways. So it's sort of break even, and then on top of that, you get the early morning magic or the early morning entry into Universal Studios and Islands of Adventure. Now let me break down for you why that extra time in the park matters so much. There is a ride that is the most popular ride out of the 2 parks, and it's called Hagrid's Magical Creatures Motorbike Adventure. We waited for 2 hours to go on this ride. Now, I'm glad we did because it was really, really fun. It was probably the best ride that they had at both of the parks, in my opinion. But for 2 hours of waiting, what the people who were staying on property got that we didn't get that time was they had a whole hour to go into Islands of Adventure and run all the way to that ride first and do it before the lines got so long. You can't use Universal Express on the Hagrid's ride. So it doesn't matter if you have that or not. You're not going to get a leg up using that on that ride. What you would have instead is using that early morning to go to that ride and to get on it before everyone else does and get it out of the way. Now, I will also say I'm going to pull back a little bit and I'm going to talk about our experience at both parks. I'll say that the Harry Potter areas of Universal Studios and Islands of Adventure were the best parts of those parks. They just were. It was immersive. It was magical. You felt like you were in the movie. It was phenomenal. But that said, it's so crowded in that part of the park on both sides. Everybody wants to go to that part of the park. So my recommendation is to do these both sides early and get that out of the way, because it just gets more and more crowded as the day goes on. And a couple other things. One, there's not a lot of food options in either of those areas. And number two, the facilities and the bathrooms are way too small for the amount of people that are crushed into that part of the park. So my recommendations and what I will always do in advance from now on is hit up a different bathroom before I even enter that part of the park, because the facilities were abysmal. It was so crowded. There were really long lines, which is hard if you've got a kid who's got to use the bathroom. And on top of that, they smelled so bad, and there were too many people in there. I've never seen anything like this, and I'm sort of wondering why Universal is not fixing this problem. They've got a facilities problem there. So aside from all of that, if you're coming off property like we did, it's not the worst thing in the world. You can see that it is very expensive to get a park hopper and expensive to get that Universal Express pass. But I will say, if you have a Harry Potter fan, like a true Harry Potter fan who wants to get their wand, then actually the way we did it worked out. So we went into Universal Studios first because we didn't have the early access to Islands of Adventure like everybody else staying on property. We made a beeline all the way back to the back of the park and went to Diagon Alley, which is the Harry Potter land of Universal Studios side. And we went to Ollivander's wand shop. Now, this is a very, very special wand shop. And what happens is that you go into the wand shop together with a bunch of people, and you go into this room with a man who is pretending to be Dumbledore. And one child out of the group that's in there gets selected to come forward and have an experience where your wand chooses you. So not every kid is chosen for this experience, and the less kids that you have in your group, the more likely you are to be chosen. So we just went straight there instead, and we went straight to Ollivander's. There was only 4 kids in our group, and I think we would have been chosen, except that my daughter was having a hard time speaking because she was so overwhelmed with excitement and joy at being in this like magical universe in Ollivander's wand shop. She just was so flabbergasted. But I'll say that if you don't get chosen, you can do it again. And oftentimes if they notice that you've done it twice, they'll pick your kid because they know you're trying to be chosen. The other thing you can do is you can, after they allow you to exit, after that child has had their experience, they move the whole group out of that room, and then you can go into the shop and you can select what wand you want. You don't have to do it that way though. You can sort of sneak back in and talk to Dumbledore again and ask if he can give your child a special experience just real quick. And I've been told that that works if you need to have that for your kid. And some kids are going to really, really insist that that's what they want. My daughter just sort of went through and chose her own wand. We got the Harry Potter wand, and it was a lot of fun still, but I think she was a little disappointed that she wasn't selected. Now, what do these wands do? Well, it turns out as you go around the areas that are Harry Potter areas of both worlds, there are these areas where you can point your wand and it tells you a different way to move your wand. And if you move your wand the way that it tells you to, you create magic right in front of your eyes. There was things like a feather floating in the air and brooms sweeping and all this magical stuff that you can do with your wand if you purchase it from Ollivander's and then use it for the rest of the day. So it was a lot of fun. I do highly recommend it, and I'm glad we did it the way we did it. But in the future, because Hagrid's is such a popular ride, it's going to be hard to not stay on property, not get that extra hour to go do that ride first and do some of the other really, really popular Harry Potter rides first and get that out of the way. And then to have the free Universal Express Pass rather than paying $200 a person. Now, it was just 2 of us, so it wasn't like this huge, overwhelming thing, but I could imagine if I had my whole family there, $1,000 a day, and say you're going multiple days in a row, wow, that's so expensive. At that point, it does become more economical, in my opinion, to just stay on property. But that's just my analysis. So let me know what you think. And if you want to go to Universal Studios, definitely consider staying on property and consider making a table or a chart just to see what the breakdown of the costs would be and what's the most economical choice for you, and what gives you the most perks. So, all right, everybody, that's it for today.